What was so good about that early 20th century animation and really those brilliant parts of just like, okay, these are just short skits. We're going to make the characters broadly appealed and like understand what their implicit wants and desires are in life, and we're going to make a lot of the just, you know, rapid fire jokes and physical comedy and, you know, musical stuff. Like, I remember there was an old, I think, Chuck Jones Bugs Bunny cartoon where they reenacted an entire opera, and it was I think it was Ride of the Valkyries with Elmer Fudd. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cultured. Now, of course, there are if you go back and you watch some of the dicier episodes where they have some kind of offensive racial stuff and not exactly the most progressive animation for depicting women, but because a lot of times there was a cartoon where they were talking about like cars, and at least 10 jokes in that. They would have a variety of different cartoon subjects back then, and it was like 10 times they mentioned the fact that women are bad drivers or they nag men. It was like, I guess we kind of forgot that this was also a part of the culture back then.
Well, that's a product of the time, as an excuse that would be, but it was more of kind of what was, I guess, your tropes for stereotypes at the time. So that was part of that too. I won't deny it. It's just we can never rekindle that magic again because that show was so good at the time when it came out. I mean,
what was close was some of the 90s stuff with, of course, Animaniacs, but also stuff like Dexter's Laboratory and Johnny Bravo and Powerpuff Girls and all those cartoons which worked very well on the short form. And they had a little bit more narrative cohesion, but still kind of, we're just here really to make jokes and for you to enjoy the shenanigans of these characters.
Yeah, that's what I certainly loved about the 90s. That was a hell of a good time for animation. That was like it felt like it was at its height at that time. Me growing up, there was so much animated shows I watched, so much I can't even like list them all.
Yeah.
It was just abundance of it. That's all it really was that I watched. And like, 80s were good for music, and I guess 90s were good for animation.
Hell yeah! And what's interesting is I think the 90s animation boom came about because parents weren't paying attention to what the kids were watching. So they were getting away with a lot of stuff, and they were also importing a lot of anime from Japan, and a lot of times they had much more adult content in their shows, like some of the Gundam shows. I'm trying to think of Dragon Ball Z, where they had characters die frequently or bleeding or lose a limb, and they just treated it as like, just another Saturday. It's the 9 to 5 grind, and they could get away with so much. And it was at a point where, like for instance, Animaniacs constantly made references to pop culture icons. Like they made fun of like Bill Clinton. They made fun of Princess Diana. They made fun of, I think they made fun of like the Supreme Court justices at that time, and it required children to understand like there's kind of this world beyond your own. So here like for instance the infamous fingerprints joke that they had with Animaniacs. It's just like, listen, a lot of kids probably didn't understand who Prince was, so I think it put a lot of trust that the kids would either grow up to understand these references, or to go out and research it themselves. And once again, the '90s were a time where it's like, okay, parents really weren't paying attention. Let's put as much adult content that we can get away with without being too overt.
Yeah, that's very true. It had a lot of the splicings of things outside of the realm of their universe, which was, I guess, made I guess the younger audiences informed of what is beyond their living room, and kind of, I guess, maybe make them more keen as to maybe what's going on in the world in subtle hints and parts. That's like the pinnacle of like what makes a good animated show like that. It's just things like that actually benefit you as a young child, to just things that may far exceed your expectations when going into a show like that. You think it'd just be wacky slapstick stuff with the Animaniacs, but it goes way beyond that.
There's there was an episode of Freakazoid where they reference Marlon Brando, and an episode of it. I mean, if you don't know who Orson Welles is, you're not going to get what Pinky and the Brain, like half the jokes of Pinky and the Brain, because it's just like Orson Welles. That's kind of who Brain is. That's that, and so kids. I'm surprised that they got away with so much stuff, but also decided to put so much energy into it, as opposed to nowadays where it's just like color-coded candy, and just so much of it is just crap. And it's not even like, oh, nostalgia's blinding. It's like, nah, they actually tried with the original one. Like, for instance, Batman the Animated Series. You could always go back to that one, and just that took it seriously. That had death. That had guns. That actually had politics in it to some extent, of like how how actual law and order is committed, especially with a darker color palette.
Yeah. I can at least maybe point out one example for a lot of the animated shows I watched. At some point had some kind of reference to things outside of their universe at least once. And it just shows that a lot of work was put into it. Just even if a lot of it flew over people's heads, which I think it may have flown over me many times as a kid.
Well,
but at least that they're dedicated with actually putting the work into it, and also still making it an enjoyable show, which says a lot about it. A lot of the current. I don't watch a lot of the current animated shows because it's not really geared towards me anymore. It just doesn't seem like it's anything as special as it once was before. It all seems pretty straightforward, and a lot of it's just more eye candy. And the last really animated show I can really think of that I liked, I guess, growing up watching it, you would consider, I guess I would say, it was probably SpongeBob. Yeah. It was actually smarter than it actually gave off. There's a lot of humor, a lot of adult humor, and some dark humor too going on in that show. And people give it credit for.
Yeah, and you're right on the money. Just that it was an experimental, not experimental, but it pushed the limits a bit. Like, it would go sometimes lighthearted, sometimes dark, sometimes like a little bit disturbing, like when they go to rock bottom. That was the last show that I can really think of that was actually trying for comedy that blended in a little bit more consistency and nuance to it than these days.
Yeah, it just makes me want to rewatch it again, because I can't believe how long it's been on the air. Because people discredited it a lot because it just thought it was just a kind of a silly, dumb kid show with a wacky character. But it was been around for a while. But I remember growing up watching it. It was just like in the early 2000s is when it first debuted, and even a lot of the humor in there was still very. It was still very experimental, and also it was like on the nose, kind of breaking the third wall sometimes. Fourth wall, and it still holds true to just the amount of work they put in, and just all the work they did with the musical stuff too. I like that. The sand in my buns, rip my pants. And the early season.
I will say. When I was in middle school and high school, my friends and I absolutely loved watching Band Geeks. That the particular episode where Squidward's trying to get the entirety of Bikini Bottom to actually make a band, and it just goes so horribly wrong. They had the flag twirlers like twirling so fast it actually lifts them up off the ground, and then they crash into an actual I'm trying to think of what the Hindenburg was of a Zeppelin. Yeah, jeez, I can't remember. They crash into like an overhead Zeppelin, and then just explodes, and then all of them take their hats off and put it over their hearts, and then someone with a trumpet plays like the funeral dirge for fallen soldiers, while Squidward it just curls up in a corner and just looks so sad.
Yeah.
I mean, and I also gotta say, Gendy Tartakovsky, who is one of the best animators I think to date, and he made what I consider to be one of the best like Japanese-inspired shows with Samurai Jack, because he understands cinematography. He always did his storyboard stuff way before they even went off to do anything else, and he does he loves like to paint the environment. He loves sounds. He loves establishing a scene and then going from there. And it's like, wow, that's an absolutely beautiful show that really just did everything right.
Yeah, that's one of the other great shows of the 90s.
And it's coming back.
Early 2000s. Yes, I heard. Very exciting. I also remember, to go harkening back on SpongeBob, I think they were going for their own kind of version of the Wilhelm scream. I think at some point they had the running gag with like, I'm surprised you remember the character's name, Fred, and he's always like, every time he gets hurt, he's always screaming out, "My leg, my leg."
I would absolutely love it because the Wilhelm scream, it's had its day, and I think we need to retire that jersey and put in the "my leg" as the new sound effect. Can you imagine, like, in a serious war film where, there's, like, grenades going off, and you just hear in the background surround sound stereo, it's like, "My leg!"
Yeah, I'd be cracking up very hard if I hear that, like, in this Avengers Civil War or something.
It's playing over Hawkeye's. Like, he's just grabbing his leg. "My leg!"
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 183.
Oof.
Holy shit.
That's
just saying it like that, it feels like it's a lot of episodes. I am Splitter47, and always joining me alongside here on this epic journey of podcastism. That's not a word. CH Core.
Hello.
Joining us as always. We got some things to talk about today, for
sure. Yes, we do.
I've delved into more Hitman episode 2. I think I talked about that a little bit last podcast.
You did, and I did see the intro, and you were right. It's pretty damn compelling.
It was it was a compelling intro briefing to that mission, because it felt like the stakes were incredibly high for that one, because you had to eliminate 2 targets and also destroy a virus that could potentially take them out of the job, pretty much, and ruin their profession, because it was like this virus that would target anybody. It can also be passed along, and nobody would even know they have it until like it's actually been activated. And I like the whole explanation of it. So very good stuff, and I've delved into it a lot more. I'm still working on putting something together regarding the strategies of releasing these episodically compared to a full game, and I'm on the fence about it, because I feel like if I would have gotten this as a full game, I may not have experienced every level as well as maybe like having it be episodic and just kind of playing through that a couple of times, because I realized that, especially with this one, this is more of a way more advanced level than the first one, because it's more of the first one in Paris is more of like a tutorial to kind of get your feet in the ground, what they're setting up to establish. with these new episodic adventures to come, and episode 2 was certainly an indication of how far they've come, and also the amounts of depth and detail that they've created in this for this franchise, because there's so much detail in the Italy level. It's beyond crazy, like how many different things you can do to kill these 2 targets, and so much variety that takes place, and I like just how the more challenges you complete in terms of like the types of actions you take, then they'll be marked off, and you'll have the ability to start in different sections of the level. In the beginning of the mission, you can start off in the kitchen as a chef, or you can start off like as a priest or something. So there's a lot of varieties to get you around the map real quick, rather than just starting off in the same place. And I like that replayability about it. And I still have much to do. And it's just amazing how just one level I spent like easily 5 hours on, just messing around.
And when you were talking about how replayability and when you have the full game, you might run the risk of, unless you replay it because you like it a lot, of just kind of blowing through it and not really trying to experience everything possible. Whereas it seems like in the new Hitman series of games that we have, it is you were given these very big expansive levels with all these options and choices, and I assume some unlockables, and you are able to really tailor it to your experience and play around and do something new. And that reminds me a lot of how I felt about it. I kind of didn't like the fact that it was separated so long from the main game release date, but that reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, where it was just this one level of this Camp Zero, I think it was, which was the Guantanamo Bay equivalent that they were going for. And you would have limited weapons, and you'd have to figure out where everybody was at first, like saving Chico and Paz, and you didn't know where they were, and you had to had to interrogate, and you had to find your way around the small island. Not island, but you had to find your way around the base, and you came to really understand everything there was about that base because of the replayability, and you would unlock new weapons. And I've been just hearing nothing but great things about episode 2. Where I was looking on some websites like Destructoid that had very positive marks for it.
Yeah, it's a very fantastic level. I'd encourage anyone who's not even familiar with Hitman series, or just in general, just to kind of enjoy it. You'll enjoy just the scope of kind of what they've been doing with this series so far, because it's pretty much blood money on next gen consoles. Ooh. It's something I've always wanted. This is like a wonderful successor to Blood Money, in every multi shape or form. And everything's a lot more improved. The AI and the actual shooting mechanics. Like it's very. You don't really get into combat a whole lot unless you are in the mood for it, because it's not easy to shoot your way through that whole level, because you can easily get killed. It takes the more realistic tone in regards to how 47 takes damage. He's not a superhuman at any means of the imagination. He can't take 100 bullets and still keep going. I don't even know if there's a way to even regain health. I think it has a regenerating health system. I think it does, but I never know long enough for it to even kick in before I get killed sometimes, especially if I want to get into gunfights. Cause
just do the Sam Fisher thing in Chaos Theory and just raid a medicine cabinet and just down whatever they have in there.
Down like the cough syrup that gives them health in Chaos Theory, I guess.
You'd just be like downing Vicodin or just like Rogaine tablets. He didn't care. He was like, I'm just going to get whatever. He could have like Cialis. Who knows? You just got to get whatever medication you can get.
Yeah, so I guess in that respects, the game is not as flexible in that capacity, and it's not really meant to be, because ideally you're supposed to kind of get through the whole level without anyone really noticing you're even there. That's always been the interesting part of the series, is always try to get the perfect kill without getting unnoticed, and just pretty much working towards a Silent Assassin, and yeah, it's fantastic. I cannot recommend it high enough because you first start out that level. All you want to do is just look around. You don't even care about your mission. You just want to look around. That's all you want to do. When you first start that mission off for the first time. I'm still not a huge fan of the model that they're going for. I feel like it's more of a case that they were still working on the game and didn't have enough time to really finish it completely, and rather than just rush it out as a full retail game with like a lot of things maybe not completely finished, I guess they're working on. I guess they're doing the episodic model and finishing as piece by piece as they go. That's what I feel like maybe is primarily the reason for this model. Not a huge fan of it because I still don't know what they're going with the story, or it seems like there's any lack thereof at this point. Well, I cannot only say that because it's only 2 episodes at this point, right. So we'll have to see.
How many episodes do they have planned?
I think they have 6, and the way that the game is going so far, I don't know if it's like the 6 episodes is going to be able to sustain a full narrative at this point, because a lot of the previous Hitmans at least were over 8 hours long, and they had a story in between missions, and they had cutscenes between missions, so they all built up to something. But I don't know if they'll. I will not speculate too much at this point because honestly I'm more enjoying a lot of the gameplay aspects rather than the lack thereof a narrative that's going on at this point, and I'm fine with that. I really am fine with that. As much as I am very much of a fan of the series, I love to see more stories, delve into the character of 47 rather than just straight gameplay. But I'll take what I can get. I'm very happy with the gameplay. There's a lot of options and unlockables to do. So much that I didn't even realize you gotta actually take out your target using like a freaking like old World War II cannon. It's a thing. I still have to figure out how to incorporate that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, lure them on over.
But yeah. So I mean, I gotten to the point where I replayed it a couple of times to kind of get everything as perfect as I can. I'm still working on. I believe there's like multiple parts in the game where it shadows security systems where you can actually destroy them, so that if you get caught on camera, all that evidence is wiped out. And I think a lot of the times that I've been passing by cameras, it gives you a notification that you've been recorded on camera. So I think that's prevented me from getting a Silent Assassin rating. So I've only been able to get 4 out of 5 stars from that. And I'm still trying to figure out where the hell this security system is, so I can destroy it, and then I'll be able to get a perfect Silent Assassin run. I've been able to get a quick run on it so far, like in at least 20 minutes tops for the Italy level. I've been able to do that, just like a multi-layered of things. I gotta like run down this the morgue and steal a key card for later, and then go back to the mansion and steal someone's clothes as a chef. Apparently, there's a funny thing with one of the main targets is that he wants his chefs to make like the pasta that his mom made with the ingredients and kind of like match the ingredients that he remembers, and then I end up making him the pasta that he liked, but it's canned soup. I just put canned soup in a pot, and then is like, oh, this is amazing, just like my mama made it. And then he starts going off to the side. Regardless on how you do it, he'll end up going off to the side to go throw up the food. Either if you put in like rat poison or you put in this can of soup, he goes off he goes off away from his bodyguard, so that you have the opportunity to kick him off the ledge and get an accident kill. So there's like things like that, and also the second target, which I guess is his wife, who's working on. We both are working on this like virus. This like scientist is having an affair with his husband, and you can go ahead and is having an affair with the guy who plays golf around their house. I don't know who he is and how he's just hanging around there. I steal his clothes and I get his cell phone and I call her over to a secret private spot, and then she comes, and then I kill her, and then I hide her body, and then I go back to the morgue to steal there was like also an accident that occurred with a scientist that got killed. So I ended up taking his clothes from the morgue and then go inside the secret facility where it has this virus, disguise myself as put my hazmat suit on, and then destroy it, and then get the hell out of there. There's a whole multi-layered things going on, and also even when the NPCs, they have their own storylines going on, especially with like there's things going on with like the dead scientist, and there's also another scientist that came to say her goodbyes to him because she felt responsible with the accident that occurred that ended up killing this dead scientist that I stole the clothes from. So there's like little compartmentalized stories going on in every section of this map. Even with the guy's, even with the chef's clothes that I stole, he was like yelling at across the street at his sister because his sister recommended him for the job and he didn't want him to be late. So there's like little things sprinkled across everything around here and there. And any kind of clothes you wear, NPCs will comment on you in some way, shape, or form. And there's a lot of attention to detail that's so superb in these little dablets of Hitman levels you've been getting. So I have nothing but positive things to say.
Well, they certainly seem to have at least worked well with the formula that they've been given. And what I absolutely love is IO making sure that the details are in place and making sure that players have a multitude of different ways around a problem and give you plenty of tools to enact that and let you come up with the creative ways of how you end a contract, shall we say.
Yeah, and also the game has multiple functions where that you are able to disable pretty much any kind of guide as to where you can go, what opportunities are available for you to take in order to complete your mission. Even you can go with the minimal aspects, like little vague prompts, or you can go with kind of a little bit more of a full detail, like actually gives you waypoints on things where to go. Makes the game a little easier, but you still have to accomplish them. And there's a lot of other things that it doesn't completely tell you that you have to figure out on your own if you want to get all the unlockables and also complete all the challenges. By challenges I mean like one mission you may not be able to do everything. So one mission may have you kick someone off the ledge, or one mission replay may have you try to wear all the disguises in the game. So there's always something different you can do, and you may not be able to do them in every replay that you do. And that's stuff like that I really enjoy, and it gives you a lot of opportunity to experiment and do some different things that you never thought it could be imaginable. I mean, so I even saw something crazy as on Reddit. They found the gunpowder for the cannon that I was telling you about earlier, and they dropped it at a specific place. And one of the targets that you kill walks by the area that he has like a pattern where he goes smoking a cigar, and then he drops the lit cigar on the floor, and he drops it right on the gunpowder, and he ends up getting killed from that little explosion right there.
Wow!
So it's like a perfect kill right there.
Damn, that is attention to patterns and to AI.
Just how well in depth that they're doing with this game. I always applaud IO for that because they always go above and beyond with a lot of the releases. So that's my 2 cents on it. We still have to discuss this week's Game of Thrones.
Yes, we do.
It's gonna be the main highlight for this podcast for sure. So I don't see any other reason than now to get into some of the spoiler talk, because at this point we can't overshadow a lot of the stuff that's happened because it's all spoiler heavy.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with the longer a show goes on, where you're going to get into more and more spoiler territory because of how much things change, unless it's a medical or police drama or something where it's kind of the same episode over and over again. This is definitely going to be spoiler territory, so you have been warned.
Yeah, I've been warned, so Yeah, a couple things went down. Some I'm not sure. I don't even know how I feel about this episode. It's just I don't know if I liked it as much as I maybe thought I would, and also this is also due because I was partaking in a Game of Thrones drinking game, so my thoughts and opinions are maybe a little bit skewed, and I may need to rewatch this episode. Don't do that, people. Please, I urge you. If you take anything away from this podcast, I urge you, do not do a Game of Thrones drinking game.
No, just
no, don't do
Make sure you enjoy the episode first, and then do the drinking game.
Cause I was pretty beyond tipsy by the end of the episode, and did not feel good afterwards. It was not fun. I took so the way it worked was, I think it was pretty much consisted of mainly sips regarding to certain actions that happened in the show. Tyrion says something witty, you take a sip. Someone dies, you take a sip. If it's like a major death, you take like a shot. So you know how a lot of stuff, you can't go an episode without either sex or death or Tyrion saying something witty. So that in and of itself was I was destined to be doomed in the amount of alcohol I've consumed. And also I had a Angry Orchard Sinful Apple, and I had a other side of Japanese whiskey, which is certainly a combination.
I would be a little bit worried about mixing those together. I'm not sure how well they go well together.
It didn't go too well. I had them separately, and I can't really look at another drink right now for a while. I feel like even thinking about alcohol makes me wanna gag a little bit. But to conclude on to what has occurred in this episode, from what I can remember, we had a scene, a flashback. Very rare that this show does flashbacks, which is interesting to see. A flashback of what was once. We had what was it? It
was Bran with the three-eyed raven.
Bran with the three-eyed raven, and it had a sequence where it was Ned Stark training with his brother, right?
I only know these names because I'm looking at the wiki page.
Yeah, I know it's hard.
With his uncle Benjen and his aunt Lyanna, and they one of the fun parts is that they have one of the stable boys there, and he's known as Willis. And
right.
And that turns out that's actually Hodor before he becomes Hodor, and so Willis is dragged away, and then Bran is kind of being attached to the memory of this place, even though it's not his timeline. He loves being back in Winterfell and seeing his father, have a good life as a child, and then you have Mira, who's still mourning over her brother's death, and she's being told by the Three-Eyed Raven's, I think, apprentice or assistant that she's going to be needed. So that's a lot more build-up and for the character of Bran, and kind of building up the fact that he's still a warg, and nothing really came about it. It was just like, oh, okay, he's working on his magical powers.
Yeah, I guess it was more of a way to, I guess, reset the stakes and to remind him of kind of what's going on, what he's going through this for. What's the point of him going through all this for? I guess so. We still have very much left to kind of see where else he can go from here at this point. And that's pretty much it. It was like very, very small fragmented scenes. This is a whole lot of this is what the show's kind of going on at this point, is like a lot of fragmented scenes that may not go anywhere or may point to something. And I guess this could be considered as like an early foreshadowing of what was to come later on this episode. What else? We had I think we're back at the wall after the scene.
It was, and once again, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. It's actually, I forgot about this. It's the scene of the man boasting about how he taunted Cersei during the Walk of Shame.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Trust me, you don't forget the ending of this scene where, and all the drunken patrons are like, yeah, you showed her, and then when he goes outside to take a leak, and then he turns around and it's the mountain standing behind him, the zombified mountain. He just looks at him and then just smashes his head against the wall and just walks on. Like, damn, that's one way to and it is graphic. They don't. What I love is just how long the one shot is. The one shot scene of it is where he just smashes his wall against. I'm sorry, the back of his head against the wall, kills him, and then he just walks away as the body kind of slumps over. I was like, damn. So he still has some semblance of recognition of who he is and what an insult is. It's not just like he's a golem who does instructions.
Yeah, I'm like 5 or 6 sips in at this point.
I'm
because I had some sips before with because Hodor was in the episode and he had said some Hodor a couple times.
Oh God, yeah, I bet you're like, please stop saying Hodor, and it's like, no, you're probably getting mad at Bran because he's just like, isn't that right, Hodor? And he's like, Hodor. He's like, you know what he's gonna say. It's gonna be like asking Groot, where's the bathroom? It's like, you know what he's gonna say.
Yeah, that was one of them there. Yeah, so this there was that, and then what transpired after that scene. I don't know how descriptive your Wikipedia page is on that. Maybe I should be looking at it too, because it's like I'm trying to keep it in line as to what occurred in the episode scene by scene.
Yeah, it's
from what I can remember.
It is Cersei tries to attend her daughter's funeral, but the Red Keep soldiers said that the king, Tommen, has decreed that she can't leave. And you understand, like, okay, he's absolutely terrified about losing anyone else again, and the fact that, like, poor Tommen, like, god damn, this is the worst possible situation that he could be a part of, because he wants to be a good guy, but he doesn't want to show strength, because that would be, militaristic, and they're dealing with these sparrows who are problematic. So he just wants to keep his mother locked away and away from danger, but it's not really working for anyone. So he asks, at the end, Tommen goes and asks his mother if she will teach him to be a stronger leader. So this might be another form of Cersei's kind of character redemption for helping her son.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to see where that transpires. We're gonna have a training montage of Tommen becoming a better
Remember
king.
to splash the red wine into the peasants' faces.
So there was that, and then we had the High Sparrow come into the I guess the kind of the area that they were in.
Oh my God!
Into the Sept.
Jonathan Pryce nails this scene because it's of course it's the funeral of Cersei and secretly Cersei and Jaime's son, and then and then the High Sparrow comes in to talk about the sins that she's committed. Just like, oh boy, you have a spine on you, sir. And the High Sparrow's like, yes, like Cersei paid for her sins by doing that walk of atonement, and Jaime says like, well, what about me? I did all these sins, and the High Sparrow is just like, we're all sinners. Like, we are, especially in this universe, we're flawed creatures, and we all just have to beg for mercy. And this is true in Game of Thrones. Like, this is the most true thing anyone has said on the show. It's like, listen, the only reason we're alive is because of a whim. and we could be killed the very next day. And
they just got lucky, I guess.
yeah, and he also brings his High Sparrow boys with him in the background. He's like, you think they'll get to me before I kill you? It's like, no, but they'll make sure you don't leave the room.
Yeah, that was a certainly interesting scene. Like the High Sparrow certainly represents like a lot of the worst aspects of like unchecked religious rules.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, I guess, just punishing people for like offenses that go against their like beliefs, and it just throws powerful people in jail just for some minor things, just from not admitting that
From gossip.
from gossip, like not Marjorie not admitting that her brother's gay. Just interesting aspects going on right now. I mean, it sells it a lot for himself, like as to what's his beliefs is, and I like how they acknowledge that a lot of that was very much in the in the realm that everybody is pretty much not flawless, but everyone's very flawed.
And how everyone is all the way susceptible to die. And the High Sparrow was saying, like, listen, you can kill me, you can kill all of us, it doesn't matter, we're poor, we have nothing else, but if we band together, then we have power. And that's something that you're terrified of, and we are going to enact change. I was like, I don't like him for what he's done, but he's got a point. I don't like what any of these people have done, but this guy's got a point.
Yeah, he's just using a lot of people's religious fears to ramp up like faith-based hysteria. So there's like that's the kind of a rich and powerful way out of that way, to drive them out of the way, to drive the rich and powerful out of the way.
I mean, it makes you wonder, like, okay, what would be the better ruling of government? Would it be just like would it be just like a king and a queen type of system of governing, or would a religious doctrine be better for ruling these people, especially with what's going on? And of course, the underlying problem that none of these people seem to understand is, by the way, we have zombies coming towards us. That should be the subtitle of the show. Game of Thrones. BTW, we have zombies coming towards us. We probably should wrap this stuff up and get ready.
Yeah, and we had the next scene in Mirren. We had Tyrion going. Well, I guess a lot of the setup was that the dragons are still, like, I think two out of the three dragons are
chained up
in captivity. Are chained up in like in the well or wherever they are, and they haven't eaten since like Daenerys has left, which is, I cannot imagine like how long that has been in the show time. But I'm sure these dragons are freaking starving.
Yeah, because they try to keep bringing them food and they won't eat it. It's like, listen, they got to hunt.
No mood. Yeah, and I think Tyrion talks about how the dragons do not do well in captivity. And they, I guess he goes down with who was his name? With Viscerin.
Oh, Varys?
Varys, yes.
Yeah.
And I guess they are suggesting that these dragons are intelligent enough to remember their friends.
Oh yeah, and they have a moment in there where the dragons are essentially about to cook Tyrion alive, and so he tells them a story about how when he was young he wanted to, when he was, I think it was one of his birthdays, and he wanted his uncle to give him a dragon, and everyone laughed at him, and his father told him that dragons were all extinct. And then so he was saying that I was as sad as could be the day that I heard that dragons were extinct, but here you are. You've shown me that there is a little bit of wonder in this world still left, and the fact that he unhooked the chains around the first dragon, and the second one just goes like, okay, yeah, me too. Like, and he just turns his head and lets him have at the chain, and then they I don't know if they fly away or they return back to the back of the caverns for another day, but I just love the fact that when Tyrion goes back up to Varys because Varys is at like the door of the caverns. Tyrion just walks right past him, and goes, "Don't you ever let me do that again."
Yes, or punch him if I do something stupid.
If I ever suggest something, because like when he starts off, he's like, "No, no, 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 no. Dragons need to know their friends." And then as soon as he's done with that, it's like, "Don't you ever? You punch me if I ever say something that's stupid again."
Yeah, that was an interesting scene. It kind of goes beyond the realm of, like, I guess your presumptions of them. I guess they're actually intelligent enough to understand what is going on, and then just by that whole scene itself, that they have some intelligence beyond just magical beasts, and that are just searching for the food and hunting for food. So I like that scene. It's pretty interesting. I don't know how they if they escaped or not. They never really made it clear with that one.
I think they probably went back into the cavern, because if you remember when Daenerys sealed them up, they put like a rock in front of the caverns, and I think they were put down there from like a wider opening in the caverns. So who knows? Yep.
Yeah. There was that, and
Arya,
yes, Arya working on
training. She should be working
some
with
Daredevil
stick
training. Yeah. Now I'm waiting for that moment in Game of Thrones where we see Tyrion riding a dragon, and it'll be like a never-ending story.
They should have the theme song in the back playing of just like, even though it's immersion breaking, that's what we all want to see.
Yeah. So we have Arya back and doing some training, as she's no longer a beggar, and I guess she's passed her test into, I guess, fully immersing herself into whatever their I don't know what her intentions are, but fully immersing herself into the nameless faces, or this that's pretty much it. Like a little snippet of it was just a lot more about her continuing her training, and it's good to see that she's not gonna be freaking getting her ass kicked throughout the whole season, and by somebody else with a stick the whole season.
It's not Walking Dead level of repetition, where it's just like, oh my god, we get it. Could you please just go on? They said like, okay, the beatings have stopped, and so now she just. With the I can't remember who the guy was, but he's the I guess the Chancellor of the No Face God, and he asks Arya. He said like, listen, if you deny your name, I'm sorry, if you accept your name, I will give you back your sight. And she says no, and then he says like, all right, well then you've certainly improved a lot. Let's get to work. And that was a small scene, and that's about it.
Yeah. So we go back to the north of Winterfell.
In the north!
Ramsay and Roose Bolton discuss plans.
Oh, man. I will say this. I think Ramsay is, like, it's either Joffrey or Ramsay, who is, like, the most hated character on this show. I think Ramsay still has not surpassed Joffrey for me.
Really? Oh, man.
I hate Ramsay for what he does in a wider sense, but really as a person and the personal delights Joffrey takes, I hate him on a much more personal level. Where, at least with Ramsay, I could understand that, like, the one sliver in the hair of madness that is on top of the head of the craziness that is Ramsay Bolton is the fact that he wants to be accepted by his father as a true son. And in this episode, we have Ramsay talking with his father about storming Castle Black, because that's where Sansa's going to go find her brother Jon Snow, who's the warden, who's the supreme Lord Commander on the Wall. And so he says, like, listen, we can take Castle Black, and his father's like, absolutely not. Like, the North would all hate us. And then essentially he's like, well, not everyone. We just need to get these guys and these guys and these guys. And his father's like, damn it, you just like have a bloodlust. Don't you understand? Like, you can't like just kill anyone you want, and then he decides to do just that.
Yeah, so the scene was so that scene started off with pretty much the announcement of Bruce Bolton's having a baby
Oof.
boy with Walder Frey, which remember is, I guess it was more of like a mutual get together through the alliances of what had occurred a few seasons ago with the Freys and the Red Wedding. So Walder Frey is giving birth to the baby boy, and Ramsey realizes that his position is pretty much like, in terms of like seeing it through his father's eyes and maybe being in some way, shape, or form of power after succeeding him or wanting to succeed him, is like probably not going to happen. And then he ends up killing him, and then this like it was a scene where it was like he didn't know who stabbed who at one point.
Yeah, it was
for a few seconds.
It was like it was like really tense because they were both keeping up pretenses. And it seemed like as soon as like if Roose had a boy, it was like, okay, bye Ramsey. You know, you were good, but I can't have a bastard on the throne. So, if I have the option, I will go with the with like a true-born son. And so he's like, and they're both just like Ramsey, you will always be my number one son. You will be my firstborn. With like no intensity, and like Ramsey's like, thank you. That means everything to me. And then just breaks the pretenses and stabs him in the stomach. And he's just like, listen. We're going to attack the wall, and the first thing I'm going to do is kill my mother-in-law and the new baby boy.
You're feeding him to the dogs.
That was just. I'm really glad they didn't go. I'm really really glad they only went. Of course that means that both the baby and Walda were both killed. But I'm really glad they didn't go full tilt and have the screams of like showcase and have the screams of both Walda and the baby, because that would just have been way too much. I think that would have made some audiences sick, including me. So I'm really happy they decided to cut back there.
If we didn't see it, it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. That is very very true. They could the baby could be a time traveler, time lord.
Welcome to the show, Steve.
Hello, Steve Arone.
Thank you for tuning in. I'll let you know that we are in full spoiler talk for Game of Thrones.
Yes, indeed.
So you may have walked into that. Yeah, it was. I don't know, CH. I don't know if this is. I don't know if this doesn't convince you otherwise that Ramsey is a son of a bitch of the series.
I hate Ramsey. But he at least demonstrated a weird, twisted sort of, genuine desire for something, of acceptance, and with Joffrey, it was just like, haha, I'm a petulant boy king. I get what I want now. Kill anyone. I don't get me wrong. I think I think that Ramsey's absolutely terrible, and there's no way in hell I would ever invite him over for a barbecue. So I would say, yeah, to hell with him, to hell with Joffrey. But I still think that Joffrey is just a bit worse.
Right. I don't know what the. I'm curious to see what the implications of this would be, because there are. You may not think so, but there can be some big implications with this, because Walder Frey is associated with Walder Frey, as you may know from the Red Wedding, and he doesn't seem like the guy would take would take this line down.
No.
And he's just as crazy as Ramsey too, kind of more senile in any ways. They're both kind of psychopaths, but this could lead to something between Ramsey and the Freys. So don't put this on the back burner just yet. We may see them come back in some way, shape, or form. I'm curious to see if they at least take this into consideration. Also, it's possible to skew the truth too, because we had that scene too with Ramsey telling, I guess, the maester or whoever was in the room at the time he killed his father, that his father got killed by an enemy or who poisoned him, something like that. So he could skew the truth too about her as well and how she died. So that may just quench or put a blanket over what had happened, what actually happened with her and the baby. So that could possibly happen too, and I could just easily diminish anything I just said.
Well, I think the fact that Walda's no longer there, and very suspicious that both her and Roos died on the same day. Saying, "Oh, he was poisoned by enemies," and everyone knows, like, okay, Ramsey's nuts. So I don't know if we can actually believe this guy with even a grain of integrity.
Yeah, that it may not last too long. That there may be some full recourse onto that, but we'll have to see if they even take it that route, because it could be easily just forgotten about. Because honestly, I almost forgot about it, about the phrase. And that's another thing I like to see too. I like to see them come back in some way, shape, or form to see where kind of they're at this point. I'm very, very curious to see if they will take parts of the book into the season as well, because there's a big implication and spoilers in the series that I would like to see done in the show. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it has to do with I don't know if I'll just say it. It has to do with Catelyn Stark and her being brought back to life from the Brotherhood without banners. Yeah. Don Derek Bernard, something like that. Which we saw. Yeah, we saw earlier in the season where he was able to come back from the dead, and afterwards, she came back, being reincarnated so much, and if you're reincarnated after being, I guess, death for a while, it does change you in some way, which I'm curious to see how this later implication plays in later on the discussion of this episode.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So when in the books, Catelyn Stark comes back to life. But she's not the same. She's more like it was very vengeful and bloodthirsty, and she pretty much goes on a killing spree with the Brotherhood without banners, and kills anybody that was associated with the Freys, the Lannisters, and anybody else pretty much who was associated with the Red Wedding. Yeah. And
I don't blame her.
You may not know this in the books. She runs into Brienne the Tarth.
Oh.
And Jaime.
Jeez.
They were both on. In the season, they were both on a journey together, trying to survive. And at the end of I forget which book, it may have been the third or fourth book, either. I think it was Clash of Kings. That the scene with them ends with her hanging Brienne of Tarth.
Oh, jeez.
And as the implication that she ends up killing her, and she has no sense at this point. She doesn't care. In any way, shape, or form. I don't remember why. I think she ended up killing her because I guess she didn't keep her word on something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that scene in itself was pretty interesting, and it didn't make it in the show. But as you see now, but it'd be a cool concept to see in the show right. And at this point, I don't know how integral will play, but it would be cool to see in some scenes. And already at this point, there's just so many characters that they try to cover on every episode, and you may not get a full maybe resolution or full continuation. It's usually just snippets sometimes. So it may be too much to cram in there. But it'd be cool to freaking see.
It would be, and they just got so many damn plot lines going on now, and just another small scene where they had Brienne talking to Sansa about what's been going on. She met with Arya, and that Theon is actually going back home, and he decided that, listen, your family's never going to forgive me for what I did, so I'm going back home to see if I can do any good there. And which is nice to see that Theon gets to do something besides be really, really scared and be a horsewhipped kind of dog with Ramsey.
Mm-hmm. And then we get a transition from, I guess, from that scene where bringing Phil Sansa in and her encounter with Arya.
Mm.
And it transitions to back to the Iron Islands. We haven't seen much of the Iron Islands for a little bit. People already forget the Iron Islands. It's have to do with the Greyjoys, which is where Theon is from.
Mm.
And as we get an implication from this scene, a major, I consider this a major death because Euron Greyjoy returned. And his first order of his business was to kill his brother, the Lord of the Iron Islands, Balon Greyjoy.
Oh yeah.
And what does this mean? Well, it's going to be the beginning of the King's Moot. King's Moot is when the Iron Islands captains vote to choose the new Lord of the region. And it's going to be an interesting contestation because I think this happens in the books too. There's like a contestation to replace to vote on is going to be the new Lord of the Iron Islands, and pretty much like I know Yara is very much vocal about it, but a lot of people don't take her seriously because she's a woman. So it's going to be interesting to see their confrontations between each other and trying to get the rightful seat into the chair for the Iron Islands, and also with Theon possibly returning over there. Who knows what implications that'll take as well.
Mm-hmm.
With them being, pretty much them believing he's dead at this point, because we had that scene like a season or two ago when they tried to rescue him, and Yara realized that he's no longer Theon that she once knew, and she's pretty much just ditched his ass and got the hell out of there when things got hot.
Absolutely, and it's even. I like the fact that Euron is poised to take over the throne that the Greyjoys have, just because of the fact that he's clearly nuts. Because he's just like, I am a god. Like, I cut out my sailor's tongue so I could have some silence, and it's like, and he's just absolutely crazy because he throws Balon over the side of a rope bridge. It just, I mean, Balon was terrible, and there's no doubt that, like, yeah, he's losing his damn mind. This is going to be an interesting, because, like, at least he was decrepit and crazy. This Euron is younger and ready to lead, and also crazy.
Yes, I don't know what the hell he was doing over that bridge at that, especially with that weather.
I was waiting for the boss to come by with the Davy Crockett and give him the talk that, like, he was defecting to the Soviet Union.
Right.
and then the big reveal of that night, which is back at the wall, where you have the brothers, the Black brothers who stood with Jon and Davos, who are defending the body of Jon. You know, they're saying, like, listen, time's up, time for you to die. And then the wildlings break in, and I just love the fact that they don't know what to do. Because it's like, we're clearly outnumbered here. And then one guy fires an arrow at one of the giants. And so he just obliterates him. He takes the guy and just smashes him against the wall and just, blood everywhere. And then just throws him to the ground. And then that ended it right quickly. Okay, we're done.
You don't want to mess with the giants.
Nope. And all the traitors who were... who sided with Thorne, and especially Ollie. Man, screw you. Ooh. I guess we have an Ollie fan here.
What's going on? She's a fan right here. Calm down. Calm down.
And so then you have all the mutineers being put into their prisons, and they still have the problem of Jon Snow's corpse. And so I can't remember who... it's Tormund, right? Who is the leader of the Wildlings?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't remember offhand, but...
Big guy with a big red beard.
Yes.
He's like...
Yeah, Tormund.
Yeah.
Ed returns with Tormund in the Wildlings. I guess Ed was one of Jon Snow's friends, I believe.
And I like how they spell it just ED. It's like, come on, guys, that's
like
barely
Ed
a change. It's like, listen, George, I know you love like twisting names just ever so slightly, but that's just silly. Come on, just call him Ed.
Yeah, and then we had a scene where Davos visits the red lady who's donned like in her normal glamour at this time, and we don't see her in her actual physical form. She's going through the crisis of faith. So everything that she saw through the Lord of the Light has not been going exactly how she intended it to be. You know, with everything with how everything worked out with Stannis and now Jon Snow. She's like, oh, this shit, it's just no good. It's no good anymore. This Lord of the Light is giving me false prophets.
I just like the fact that
false visions. I didn't win the lottery because of this.
Oh my, yeah, and she's like, Stannis is dead, and I kind of bet all my chips on that pony, which turned out to be pretty bad, and I don't know what to do anymore. I don't believe in the Lord of Light. And Davos is like, listen, I'm in this universe, I'm atheist, I don't believe there's any gods, but that shit you did was magical, so you get your ass in there, and you resurrect Jon Snow. And so she's like, oh, okay, I will.
That's pretty much what happened. Is like, especially with Davos being like the guy that just doesn't believe in this craziness, and seeing what she did with killing the king. Who was it? Back in the previous season, she ended up killing. My name.
Oh, it's trying to
remember the name.
Shoot, it was Marjorie's brother.
Names. Marjorie's
brother. Marjorie's husband. Sorry,
Marjorie's brother. Marjorie's husband.
I'm trying to remember. Can't remember for the life of me. But she gave birth to the shadow monster that killed him, and we've never seen that shadow monster since. I like to see the adventures of the shadow monster as he combs the landscape and just tries to settle down as a bartender.
That was Renly Baratheon.
Yes, oh yes, the Baratheons, and because he was next in line for the kingship, and then was assassinated. And it's like, oh god, not this again.
Yeah, so after seeing that, he's willing to give her the benefit of the doubt that she probably can have the ability to bring Jon Snow back from the dead. Says some things, Ade Dewey Dembala, and then Jon Snow awakens. And that was the end of the episode.
I love how drawn out that scene was, just because it was just like, she says the music kind of swells when she says the incantations, and then everyone's waiting, and then the music just kind of like dies down, then stops altogether, and everyone's just looking around each other just like, well, that didn't work. And so Tormund leaves, and everybody else kind of leaves, and Davos just there just like, well, we're screwed.
Worth a shot.
And then he leaves, and then like the only one left there is just Ghost, and then they still cut back to Ghost, cut back to Jon, cut back to Ghost, still sleeping, cut back to Jon, cut back to Ghost. He perks up a little bit, and then Jon wakes up with like gasping for air, and he's like, "Oh, you guys knew how to draw out the tension of that scene."
A little bit too much. There's also theories going around that possibly Jon's got warged, or his soul entered Ghost, and there's theories about it, but because Ghost was, I think he was sleeping throughout the whole spell that she was casting, and then woke up seconds before Jon Snow opened his eyes. So there's some. It's a little theories here.
I mean, we don't know. I mean, come on. Everybody knew Jon Snow was coming back. Just like Kit Harington was on the set, wearing the Jon Snow hair. They did such a bad job hiding it. They had like a promotional image of Jon Snow standing up, bloodied-faced, but just like, come on. You're hinting at that way too much. The fact that they still had his corpse, and they were happy to show Kit Harington was still there. It's like, look, see, we're not using a stunt double or CG. This is him. Look at him. So it's just like, he's probably going to come back.
And he's like on an apology tour for lying to the fans that he wasn't coming back.
It's like, oh, you sweet innocent man. You thought any of us believed you. And
That's funny.
and maybe Stannis is still alive. I have a feeling that, as you said, because we don't see the actual death of Stannis, it might still happen. I mean,
My theory is still pretty strong on this. It could be wrong, and they could just throw us in for a loop, and I would be heavily disappointed because it would be very inconsistent to what they've been doing in the show. They have no problem showing deaths in the show.
No, they do not.
We've seen every major death on the show. We've seen Robb Stark. We've seen Renly Baratheon. We've seen everybody besides, I guess, the Mad King. That's something that'll be a spinoff. We've seen Joffrey dead. We have not seen Stannis Baratheon get killed. So my theory is strong. On
we saw Oberyn.
We saw
get his face crushed in so an unrealistic way. Just like that was almost a trauma movie. Just of how love. I mean, it was done well, but just like it was so.
I think Paul Verhoeven directed that scene.
Yeah. It was like, imagine the blood splattering of RoboCop and Starship Troopers. That's what the head was like. It's like, that's not how a skull is made.
And also recently we saw Balon Greyjoy get killed too. So
I mean, I was afraid because they tossed him into the water. He could be still alive. Like, nope. The next day they pull out his body.
Well, there's maybe a lot of rocks there too, so I don't think he's gonna make it after that high of a fall.
I mean, they brought back Catelyn Stark, so who knows?
Well, that's in the books, but we'll have unless they happen to stumble upon the Brotherhood without banners. That's the only other reason that could happen.
I am looking forward to the adventures of nearly headless Ned Stark.
Oh man,
just carrying his head around, using it for a bowling ball, helping out small townsfolk.
What did you think of this episode so far? I feel like I don't know if it's like getting into the territory now at this point where it's like TV show writing, where it's getting kind of predictable. I don't know if they're just throwing us in for a loop where they actually made this part more predictable than normal. Because I feel like the show has been very good at for like not even hinting at anything major that could happen. Like there's big plots,
big surprises
that occurred, big surprises like the Red Wedding that occurred.
Well, to be fair, those were for either the second to last or the last episodes of the season, and this is build up. I think this might be just a build up episode where they're getting to the places that they need to. And that the Jon Snow resurrection and the wildlings coming back to help. That's the big thing and the next episode will be like, how is Jon affected by this? Like, will he be the same guy? I have a feeling that he will be the same because he's the only one with any possible leadership who isn't completely corrupted in some way or fashion. Because he's, as we've discussed, he's just like a good guy. He's essentially if Optimus Prime was a human in the Game of Thrones universe, where he's just like he wants to help people. He's like, listen, there's a common enemy we all need to fight, and it's just like, this is what we need to do. And so I think they're going to leave that alone. Maybe he'll have to face his own mother, who was resurrected the wrong way, and is now just on a bloody vengeance. They might do that. All the other stuff with the Kingsmoot, all the stuff with Sansa and Brienne and Ramsay and everything else. It seems like it's build up to more payoff later, and I don't mind this being a build up episode, especially if depending on where it fits in the entire season.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how the rest of the season goes on, and before I can make any adjustments. This is just merely the thoughts that's been going through my head for this season so far. Yeah. But it seems like the show right now is tossing characters into situations and immediately getting them out of it at times. It makes sense why you would do this with like Jon, because no one wants to pay him for a whole season of television where he just lays dead throughout the whole season. So it makes sense, I guess. But when it comes to Arya, unless the show's simply thinks that her being a beggar is a dead end for stories, I'm not sure where they can go with her in any way. Like Arya's storyline.
They
yeah.
Well, just that. I mean, some of the scenes didn't really add to the. It felt like they were kind of just treading water of establishing stuff and then not really either developing them or giving them really any service to really expand upon them in interesting ways, like they did with Bran Stark in the beginning with his visions. Like I like that they showed him like, okay, he's been training, but like that's kind of it. Like they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
I thought they would do something very interesting with I don't know, like what the usage of his powers are going to be and how he's going to implement that in the future. I mean, like the big one is probably the bigger one in King's Landing is Tommen maybe starting down the dark side path, where
yes,
do it, get him. Oh man, I think the Emperor would fit very well in the Game of Thrones universe. And the High Sparrow kind of hinting at, like, okay, there's going to be a revolution coming, and the rich and powerful are going to have their backs up against the wall, regardless of really how we do it, because we know we're sinning, but we're doing it for a better future, which is their excuse. And I mean, everything else was build up. It's them Tyrion releasing the dragon, Arya, I guess saying enough times that she has no name to justify coming back. I kind of would have liked it to be maybe something differently, like she didn't know. Like I don't know, like maybe like a Jesus Christ thing where you will deny me 3 times before the cock crows, and she just didn't know that the faceless man was all the 3 people asking her, like who were mystical or something else, where just like she was asked by someone else besides him, because it would be easy to deny that and then get let back in, but without the hope of really coming back, just like, are you still the girl with no name? And then, that would be, I thought that would have been a better way to confront that situation than really have him show back up.
Yeah, currently just watching quick preview of next episode, so we get snippets of kind of what everyone's up to at this point. So John getting up from the bed and little snippets here and there, and
that would be great if he just wakes up like, somebody get me some Advil.
Somebody be like give me a burger. It could be like the Iron Man scene.
There's 2 things. I want an American cheeseburger, and I would also like to kick Thorne out immediately, because oh man, I cannot wait for his execution.
Oh goodness, I like and a side of milk of the puppy.
Oh, I cannot wait for the swift vengeance. And Ollie, especially Ollie, dude, you are going to pay, and you have no one but yourself to blame.
I'm very excited for next episode to see what goes down, mainly in at the wall over there.
I like the fact that Davos is really, he's going to be like a great second in command for John, because like he has nowhere else to go, and John's like, listen, you probably, it's like, listen, you help me with bringing me back to life, which I really appreciate. You got a place here.
Well, I like how even minor characters at some point, like Davos, they end up being kind of minor characters and end up growing into like something a bit more larger than they were when we first saw them, and also having like pivotal roles in some way, shape, or form. So that's what the books and the show does really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how for Aeron, I like how their dialogue, the dialogue he had with Balon was it was expository, but it also showed a lot of character and also built on the plot. So I didn't mind that it was very like, oh, I heard they tied you to a pole, because you were screaming mad trying to jump into the river. because it's used to taunt him, and the establishment of the fact that he just says like yes, and then I cut all their tongues out. I like that scene where you didn't need what I love that where they introduced a now pivotal character very quickly, and are more than happy to change up the dynamic so quickly with everything else that they're doing.
Right. Well, where we so we've established that we're both looking forward to what goes down at the wall in the next episode. So let us know what you guys are most excited about in episode 3, season 6 of Game of Thrones.
Of Game of Thrones, by the way, there are White Walkers coming. We need to really get our stuff in order.
And they really need to. They need to fortify the walls.
Yeah,
get some more ice. run by the 7-Eleven to get some more ice.
that would be a great scene where they just got like 5, 6. They got like 5 8-pound plastic bags of ice, and they just like dump it in front, like at the top of the wall, like down the wall. It's like that should be good enough. That'll keep it cool.
And to have some thought on this, the third episode is called Oathbreaker.
Ooh. And yeah, it was John. That might be referring to John.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. There's
because it's done. I mean, he said like I'll take the black till I die. He died like loophole.
He no longer is. I guess he's no longer obligated at this point now to be at the wall at this point. Now he's going to be the one that's actually going to try to do something to counteract these White Walkers that are a very incredible threat across all the realm. It doesn't even matter about getting the crown at this point. It's all about survival.
Yeah.
Trying to survive from the Reapers. I mean the White Walkers.
If they had some dragon fangs, they would certainly be the Reapers.
This is very exciting. I'm very, very excited to see what goes down next episode. But overall, what would you rate this episode?
I thought it was. Now, what I think is different from this kind of build-up episode to maybe something a little bit stronger is that it felt like most of the stories were build-up. And I feel like a really good story would be one story's build-up, another story is expanding upon an idea, another story would be finishing a particular arc and then moving on to another one. This one felt like it was all mostly build-up. And so I'd probably say there were some things I didn't like, but I'd probably give it a 6 or 7 out of 10 if we're going by numbers.
Yeah, I'd give it around there. I would mainly just say that it's hard because it's hard to get the full satisfaction with every episode because it's certainly all about just kind of getting to, I guess, a certain point or a certain big change within the season and leading to something. So it's I can understand how maybe some folks weren't too crazy about this episode and also being a bit predictable too. I mean, it's not a con for me anyways because it's a very pivotal character, and it's like I really don't know where they could go from here if they never brought him back, because especially with just the big threat that is the White Walkers. I mean, who the hell is going to do anything besides I guess Davos? But it's just him, and then there's nobody else really. Mm-hmm. It's all leading towards something, I would hope, and it's hard to get the full satisfaction with every episode because it's all, as you mentioned, it's all building up to something, and at least it's building up everybody that we saw at least, and some major changes too. So there were some, there's some things that went down. I mean, I wouldn't downgrade it at all. We had the death of Roose Bolton. Great, Balon Greyjoy. I mean, there's some certain major
out with the old.
Yeah, the new generations taking over. It's a new generation.
I just one of the biggest, I think, messages of Game of Thrones is that in this type of universe where you have monarchies, no one is really. The reasons for actual kings are tepid and are constantly in flux always. If you just like barely related, you could be the king. So I have no doubts that there's going to be some say in terms of Euron causing up a storm, despite the fact that he killed the previous king, and they'll probably be like, that's fine. Like, you know how many people have killed the previous king?
I know. Have you ever seen The Lion King? Reference that.
Mm.
But yeah, this is certainly it was a solid episode in it that it's still setting up things. It's it's hard to judge an episode because it's especially with like a show like this where it's so serialized. It's very much just like it's just like reading a book. Because I mean, no pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
It's you turn page by page and certain things happen. Things get built up, and then you get so excited to see what happens next, and you get to another scene that you're maybe not so excited about. You like, I want to find out what happened next with this other character. That happens a lot sometimes in the show or in the books too. It's like, not sure, not too big on what's going on with Bran. Can we back to the wall, please? Skim through pages real quick.
Yeah, there is. There's. Fortunately, they kept a lot of those scenes to a minimum, to like what they needed to do, but it still didn't hurt the fact. It still didn't help the fact that a lot of this felt like, okay, these are stepping stones to the big stuff.
Yeah, and I have to also consider that as well. As much as I have to consider that over like anything that I may prefer to see, or that I may or may not prefer to see. So it is all leading up to something, and everything is important. It is important enough for it to be on screen. So very excited to see what goes down next episode, as I mentioned. So hopefully get some more info on what Arya's training for. I guess to be no one, pretty much. It's kind of contradictory,
Yeah.
I'm excited for her to be no one.
It feels like anyone who is not doing a particular theology is going to be playing a big part in the roles to come. Like all the people who are no one, I'm guessing a lot of the the Men Without Banners?
Brotherhood Without Banners?
The Brotherhood Without Banners. I feel like there's going to be like everyone who doesn't really subscribe to a particular ideology other than, hey, you know what, let's try to trust each other, that they're going to be the ones who actually do the most help. Or the wildlings, even. Oh, for God's sakes, I'm sorry, I gotta turn this shit off.
I thought those were just points you're made, so that's why those were the sound effects. Each point.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn that off now. I did something where I got my cell phone linked up to my computer, and so it will send me a message that my cell phone gets to my laptop. So I'm trying to figure out how to turn this off now, so it's not just overly bullying the entire thing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if we'll get some more. If we'll get a scene, because I don't think we got any scene at all with what's going on with Sam and Gilly over there. We had a little bit of that. We had a little bit of scenes with them in the books too. They were off to sea, and they were off to sea on a boat. They were off to sea to Sam's hometown. Apparently, he's part of a kind of a aristocratic family, I guess, that he's kind of been shunned about with his dad and all.
And they're probably going to come back in a big way. Probably Sam's going to be the big hero of the entire series.
He ends up being he's going to end up being probably a pivotal role in some way. He's going to end up stabbing a White Walker with or something like that.
They certainly have a very interesting way to bring it all back in, especially since the Tullys have the Tullys were very interesting that they actually connected to the video game series. So I'm wondering if they used one. I think it was a cousin of Sam to be a part of the video game story. So I wonder if they're going to be playing a part, or if they won't, or if they're just like another family that's kind of off to the side, and they just wrote off Sam so that at least somebody can have a have a good relationship without it ending in blood and murder.
Yeah. Just kind of reviewing a little bit of where he was left off. I guess he just where did he end up going anyway? I don't remember.
I think he was just leaving for his family's home estate. I can't remember, but don't worry, they'll bring him back when.
Well, pretty much just in his overview in regards to where he's at in the show rather than in the books. Sam asked John that if he could travel to Old Town to study and replace Amon as the new Maester of the Watch, as he feels there's no way he can help them as he cannot fight, and he's also afraid for Gilly and her child's safety and wishes to take them along. He's also afraid for. John reminds him that the Citadel will also not allow Sam to be with women.
Yeah.
But is humored to hear that it's already too late for that. Sam promises he will return, and they toast to that, and John sees his only friend off. So I don't know if he's gone for good right now, but that is where he's at in the show in respects to his story arc. So we'll have to see, as many other small things, we'll have to see if we get anything back from there later on the season. I'm curious to see where he's at in the books.
Yeah. But it's an okay to good episode with some potential.
Yeah, very good stuff. I'm very excited. That's all I can say. Let's see. I was skimming through where he's at in the books, actually. So we established that Maester Aemon has passed away. In the morning of his death, Gilly briefly becomes a lover to Samwell. She names the child after Aemon, and is planned that upon landing at Old Town, she will be sent to Samwell's childhood home of Horn Hill, with the story that her child is a bastard fathered by Sam. Sam continues to the Citadel, where he encounters Aleras, who has sought him out and brings him straight to Archmaster Morrowind, who asks Samwell to repeat for him Aemon's final words. Upon hearing the story, Morrowind immediately departs the city with the stated intention of going to Daenerys and becoming her maester, not before ordering Sam to keep Daenerys and the dragons a secret from the Archmasters. That's all that is in here right now for him. I don't even think he was included in the last book either.
Yeah.
This is for Feast for Crows. This is the 4th book, I believe. Interesting. Yeah. So that may be all we're here from Sam at this point, and that's just as far as kind of the same sentiments as what was going on in the show. He's going off to Old Town, back to the Citadel, I guess,
and
to train to become a Maester and replace Master Aemon.
That would be awesome if he just came back with a big old Gandalf beard and just like brought down rain and lightning and destruction.
We can only hope. That would be for fan fiction. So yeah, man, that was a good brief overview, discussion, and review of Season 6, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones.
Yes, indeed.
Very, very much looking forward to seeing where the show goes from there. Beyond this point, is there anything that you wanted to bring up? Anything you've been playing that you wanted to talk about? I know you had some Quantum Break action last episode. You talked about that a little bit.
I completed that game. Very, very happy with Quantum Break. I've been trying out the new Gears of War 4 beta, multiplayer beta, and pretty damn good, I gotta say.
And where's this? Where does this in lie with the story arcs in regards to the Gears of War universe?
This is, I think, something like 30, 25 years after the ending of Gears of War 3, where they and I'll talk about the other thing, which is the trailer, which falls in the great the tradition of really good trailers with the Gears of War games, where I'll talk about that later. But this is they're being very secretive about what's going on, but it has the Coalition coming back. It's got a new protagonist, JD. It's got a new cast of characters. They've been surprisingly quiet about it all, which it makes me hopeful of they just want to keep all the spoilers in the dark so that people can enjoy them when the game comes out. The multiplayer is great. They got some brand new weapons, like they have like a weapon that fires over cover and blows you up. So you gotta think of new ways to get around. You have to when you take cover, you can actually drag someone out from the other side of cover. If like they're behind a sandbag and you hit the sandbag, you can drag the other guy across, or if you time it just right, you can stop them from doing that. There's a lot of good old favorites, like the good old Lancer and the shotgun. Although I'm afraid, like, I don't want the shotgun to ruin the multiplayer experience, because that was a big problem with the Gears of War series, because with the games, a lot of the online stuff was just like, okay, it's going to be the two-piece of the shotgun and melee, and then that's it. No one used anything else. So I really hope that they do keep a good balance in there where everyone uses weapons that they really enjoy and like. I'm not sure if it's locusts this time. I don't think it's locusts. I think it's another enemy. I can't remember what the enemy type is. I'm going to look it up.
I see a new prominent, very interesting feature coming to Gears of War 4 is microtransactions, for cosmetic items.
Oh God, that's the stuff. Like, listen, I think you guys need to take a step back and actually look at something. Where with Halo 5, I don't like the fact that microtransactions are tied to unlocking weapons. I think that's stupid, and I don't mean like extra weapons that like sniper rifles or power weapons. I mean just like for standard weapons that you can choose when you spawn. But I do like the fact that cosmetics, vehicles, a lot of the cool weaponry and armor and legendary stuff can be unlocked through card packs. And especially I like that since you can the money that they make from those microtransactions go directly into free DLC and championships. I don't like it in Rise of the Tomb Raider because there's absolutely no benefit, unlike Halo 5, to the actual player. And unless I see otherwise, I don't know what they're trying to do with this one. Just like, why are you doing microtransactions? This is stupid. And I don't care that if it's for cosmetics and for other things, sure, go ahead. That's great. But don't tie it into weaponry. Don't tie it into game modes. Don't tie it into all these other things without giving the player a single solitary benefit. Does that mean that you guys will be having maps that will not be charged? Does that mean that you'll have be giving out free DLC for weapons and such that will be free for the players? It sure as hell better be, because this is stupid.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, I'm very hopeful.
There's that. Yeah. So one of the things, I guess, is that people are expecting some better storytelling, because Cliff Bleszinski has stated, and I quote, "Gears ain't Shakespeare," which is probably one of the biggest understatements.
Gears.
In gaming.
Oh no, there are some. You'd be surprised at how violent Shakespeare's plays are. They disembowel goats. A guy drowns himself in blood. There's Two Gentlemen of Verona ends with. It's really weird and really like shocking for a play where the Two Gentlemen of Verona, two characters at the end, laughably like make a joke about ha ha ha, let's rape this woman, ha ha ha, and it's just like, what the hell? I will say that is and the problem is that the director of this game, Rob Ferguson, I think said something similar. How it's about like, yeah, I understand that the difficulties of with this gameplay and making a story, so they're already setting their expectations low. I think that's bullshit. That you don't need to just hide, be an emu and hide your head in the sand and just give up on making an interesting narrative. For instance, RoboCop was a splatter sci-fi gore movie, but it also had some social commentary. It had some very interesting narrative stuff going on, where it was actually experimenting with ideas, and I felt like the first Gears of War was doing something very similar. How it was a very interesting concerted effort about how people need to get along, because if we don't, we're all going to die. And even as much as I love Gears of War 2 and thought Gears of War 3 had potential, I really hope that they actually try to do something with this, because that's just a lame excuse about like, oh, it's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, a feature I see here is if the combat knife brings new executions to the game, and the execution animation will differ depending on where your player is situated in relation to an opponent. These executions are reminiscent to those seen as in Middle Earth: Shadow of Mordor, which is a great game.
Yeah, oh yeah,
great game by the way. While in cover, a player can reach over and pull an opponent onto the side and perform a knife execution. As the cool kids like to say, it's called a yank and shank, which has prominently been done in what I can remember from, I guess a little bit in like
Splinter Cell Blacklist,
grabbing people in Splinter Cell. Not as quickly though, but it gets the job done.
They I have good feelings about this, at least from the narrative side, because it's a clean break, I feel, from the other games where it is the son of Marcus Phoenix and Anya from the previous Gears trilogy, JD. And what I love is they have a cinematic trailer for the game, and set to Disturbed's cover of Sound of Silence, which is one of my favorite covers of all time. I'm not the biggest Disturbed fan either, and they just knock it out of the park. And it cuts back and forth between. Wow. Yeah, yeah, down with the sickness, man. That's their bread and butter. And so it cuts back and forth between JD running in the forest between like monsters and such, and you don't really get a good look at them until the very end. And it cuts back with him with his family on his father's estate, planting a tree and writing JDF for which is assumingly John Dominic Phoenix. The names of John and Dominic being Marcus's dad and best friend, respectively. So he's being named after that, and then it cuts back to the modern day where he's hiding, and a monster tries to tackle him and knocks down a tree, and that's the tree that his father wrote his son's name in. And just like, oh my god, that's good. You guys got a good surprise there.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things, and I hear that. I recall some. I think the first two trailers, they always seem to have some interesting, deeper meaning that I'm not fully aware of, because I'm not fully aware of because I haven't really played much of Gears. So very interesting to hear your thoughts on the beta. It seems like it's very promising. It may please some fans, and adding some additional features, and you can't go wrong. I mean, it's Xbox exclusive. It's what they got.
Yeah, it's a very good demo. I like where it's going. I think they can do a few improvements here and there, but mostly I'm very, very happy. It's a sign of good things to come. I like the weapon balance. I like the art design. It's a little bit more dispersed and colorful than even the more recent Judgment, which I didn't really like. And it's certainly, they would go with a particular color and then just build the entire game around that. whereas this one seems to be a lot more expansive artistically, and I'm looking forward to it. And I don't. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you partaking or interested in trying out the Overwatch beta, which is for free through May 5th and 9th? Through May 5th through 9th. What am I trying to say?
I don't. I'll give it a shot.
I tried a little bit of the Battleborn beta.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it for what it was. I think I only was able to play it for one day, and afterwards I think it may have ended, so I wasn't able to play more of it. I liked it for what it was. I like cooperative first person shooters. That's always something I'm down with. I'm never a big fan of the competitiveness because I get too burnt down on it real easily. It's just the reason why I never stick with playing too much Mortal Kombat, because I lose like 20 times in a row, and I was like, fuck this. I can't do it anymore. So cooperative shooters, shooting in some shape or form, which is why I loved the Mass Effect multiplayer, I'm down with. I can do that.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if I care too much on exactly what's kind of going on in terms of the grand scheme of things of the Battleborn story universe, but it seems pretty straightforward. Honestly, I can't really, now that I think about it more, I can't really think of anything that it does differently, but it does what it needs to do, which is just cooperative gameplay. I'm curious to see what if there's any different approaches or any interesting things that maybe will catch my eye more when I try out the Overwatch beta when it starts tomorrow. I'll definitely talk about that more if we get the chance to play it. I wouldn't mind trying it out. As first person shooter by Blizzard. I didn't know they were in the realm of this.
Yeah.
In the realm of first person shooters, this is the first that I've seen.
They always have usually well balanced. They don't. World of Warcraft is now in the shitter since they made some stupid choices. But I think they're very invested in this new property, and they want to do something new and fresh. And I like the fact that their trailers are very damn well made. Because they had, I think, a couple of characters for the Overwatch character analysis, where they introduced new characters, new plot lines, and such, and new factions. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how much characters in there. It reminded me a lot of the Team Fortress 2 videos, except this even seems to be a lot more plot related, which is very interesting.
Yeah, I'm very excited to check it out. I haven't really been following it too much in terms of trailers or gameplay, but I'll absolutely give it a shot. I'm all down with trying some new things, and who knows, this may sway me over to maybe play this more than I've been playing Battleborn. I like the aesthetics, and I like how it's colorful. I like color in my games. Get the full resolution and presentation on your television screen. This is why we pay top dollar for HD TVs.
Oh yes, that's why I pay for the 4Ks and the 10Ks, and then eventually we'll get to a point where it's so good and crisp that we can't actually physically comprehend how good the visual quality is, but we'll know it's there.
We'll know it's there. Any interests in the long run or later down the pipeline for some Dark Souls 3, CH?
Honestly, I don't know. I like Dark Souls. I thought it was a very good game with it wasn't my cup of tea, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. And what it made me appreciate more than anything was the joy of having of overcoming difficulties rather than just sticking to what you're not afraid, but just sticking to what you're comfortable with and thinking like, okay, this will be it, and I won't really push past this. But whether it's like Witcher 3 or Halo or any other game that I'm playing, I'll now try to bump it up to something a little bit harder, so I will be able to test myself a little bit more. And
that's certainly, it makes you think that it makes you certainly think of games you play now in some other different aspects. Just for example, game like Gears of War or something. It makes you want to play the game maybe on a higher difficulty than what you're maybe more comfortable with, because
Oh yeah.
just knowing that you've been through the trenches of Dark Souls and you come out of it realizing it wasn't that bad. It was hard on me,
Yeah.
but it wasn't that bad. It's
No,
doable.
yeah.
It's it's like is designed to be challenging, but not arbitrarily difficult. Where it's like characters are way overpowered than they need to be, or things like that. It's not. It's actually designed to be challenging, and you can overcome it by understanding obstacles, the mechanics, and the level. The more times you play, and the more times you die. That's the kind of stuff I like, and it's really amazing to see that we still have games like this that are challenging players in all shapes and sizes, and we're not necessarily have to be kind of watered down with like a lot of other games. But it's not for everybody, but it's certainly for those who want to challenge, and it's good to know that there's options like Dark Souls that are still out there for you to keep on trying and challenging yourself. I myself haven't gotten Dark Souls 3 yet. I will get it eventually, but I'm not in the rush to get it at this point. I've been through the trenches of war that is
We've
Dark
already proven
Souls and
ourselves.
Bloodborne. So I've fully proven ourselves that we are capable of doing this. If I ever get kind of bored at some point with some of the games that are out, I may go back to it, and maybe not necessarily Dark Souls 3, but Dark Souls 2 or Bloodborne. God damn, I love Bloodborne. Such a good game.
I love watching the atmosphere and just the art design of Bloodborne, and that's what I cannot even come close to knocking against From Software, because they really love their vistas, they love their art design, they love everything about the presentation, just spot on.
Yeah, very. A lot of the gameplay I've seen for Dark Souls 3 it looks a lot faster, very very akin to Bloodborne, but still it looks like it's still remaining much of Dark Souls, but it seems a lot faster, which I like.
Yeah,
and it seems like the scope of a lot of the bosses just seem to be always out there and always unpredictable. Especially that gameplay footage I saw one time with you walking down this area, and then you just look at this simple tree that just doesn't seem like anything to you. It seems like it's just a part of the environment, and as you get closer, it actually starts to move, and you're fighting a freaking tree, a giant tree boss, which is freaking amazing.
Those tree bosses. But then you had I don't know if you've also played Dark Souls 1, but they had those trees, and there were vines on them, and then one time when you're picking up an item, the vines come to life, and you realize, oh my gosh, they're actually snakes.
Yeah, that's happened a couple times, and especially with trees that are you walk on a certain line between them, they come to life, and they they try to eat you.
Not to mention mimics. Let's not forget mimics.
Oh, fuck mimics. They're the pain in my butt.
Yeah, they taught me to never trust a chest in a game ever again. So like every time I come across one, just one swipe at least. If it starts acting up, then you know you're in trouble.
I had that same thing. I had that PTSD of opening chests, even like in The Witcher. Knowing none of them do anything, I was still afraid to open them in The Witcher.
Oh my gosh, they how Dark Souls trains you makes you cautious from now on in every other game, because there's a lot of those gotcha moments where it's just like oh, you didn't check this corner, gotcha. Oh, you didn't. You thought that there was another enemy here, but now we got you.
Yeah, it's such an amazing series, and it's very good that it's remained as consistent as it has been for the amount of releases it's come out with in the last couple of years. It's not necessarily I don't think it was necessarily annually, but at least it was maybe like biannually at this point. But I'm glad that they're not necessarily going down the path of like Assassin's Creed. I think this may be the last one they'll do, from what I've been hearing. But I'm sure they'll do other games similar to that. I mean, they were able to establish their own other franchise with Bloodborne and everything.
Oh yeah,
so
they
wouldn't put it past them to do something else. It would be like some kind of sci-fi-ish Warhammer 40K style Dark Souls game.
that would be good. There's another. Yeah, I mean, Dark Souls has been so popular, and From Software has had such an effect on the industry. There was a game that was very similar in style and tone to Dark Souls, which was Lords of the Fallen. That game was very much like Dark Souls, and that company is actually working on a sci-fi game similar. So we could see one go to sci-fi before From Software even gets the opportunity to get out there.
Yeah, that would be interesting to try out for sure. But yeah, man, this is a hell of an episode. I'm glad that we got to get going on this and get this together. I'm glad, primarily, I guess, for I love talking Game of Thrones with you, so it's always interesting. It's always good to get these out there as soon as these episodes drop. Mm-hmm. So appreciate your time. Appreciate your guys' time for listening to the podcast and hearing what we have to say about the recent episode of Game of Thrones. I mean, feel free to leave us a comment on what you thought of it. If you decided not to skip over the spoilers, then I'm sorry. You've been spoiled. But we did give you a warning.
Oh, yes. We gave you plenty at the beginning.
I know I'm not too good on working on specifics in terms of the time stamps, but I'll try to do better on it, just to kind of quench your undesires to hear further info of what's going on in Game of Thrones, because anything you say now, you'll be spoiled upon, I guess, in some way, shape, or form, even if you're like really in the beginning of the even if you start in the beginning of the show, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
they need to know.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, man. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to bring up or discuss. I'm more than welcome to sit back and talk to you some more.
Oh, no. It's getting pretty late for me, and I need to head on off to bed, and I'm glad we got to talk. Fortunately, I'm all good out of topics to discuss, and I'm ready to let my brain rest.
Understandable. So, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to episode 183. Yes, 83 of Bloody Thumbs podcast. It's been real. Appreciate all the support we got out there. Check out BloodyThumbsPodcast.com, the BGB.com. Mm-hmm. Check us out on iTunes, audibletrial.com/BloodyThumbs. If you're interested at all in Game of Thrones, if you haven't even got into the madness and amazingness that is Game of Thrones, you can get your free audiobook if you decide to go that route of Game of Thrones by accessing the link. audibletrial.com/BloodyThumbs will grant you one free book of your choosing and a free 30-day trial. So if you want to get into the hype that is Game of Thrones, you can start off with the first book, Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire series, part 1, and get into it. I would like to check out a little bit of the audiobook version of that show. It'd be pretty cool.
It's good,
to be honest. And you can't ask for more. Who knows? With a lot of the adventures and a lot of the trials and tribulations and experiments that CH likes to do, you may end up hearing him on one of the Game of Thrones book audibles. You never know.
I'd love to do that one day.
And I can't ask for more. It would be interesting to hear. But beyond that point, it's been real. Thank you so much for listening. I am Splitter47. I'm signing off right now, and we'll see you on the next one, and where we talk about episode 3 of Game of Thrones, The Oathbreaker.
Ooh, looking forward to that. And I'm CH Gorog, and I'm looking very much forward to how things could possibly get any worse in the Game of Thrones universe, and yet it will.
Absolutely. Take it easy, guys.
Night night.